We're here today to talk about what happens next. And the premise of the conference, the Festival of Italian Creativity, has always been to leave a lasting legacy, something that went beyond these very productive several days and this wonderful party we're having tonight. The point is that this shouldn't be the end. This is really a turning point, a beginning point, a point from which we will follow through.
Italian artists, Italian scientists that will be part.
I've always believed that one of the roles of the consulate is to support the promotion of the cultural and social growth of the community, and also to support any ideas that is aimed at this objective. I see Boston as a city that really has all the potentialities to be a bridge between Italy and the United States of America. Boston, for its historic past and for the present, has a lot of Italy in it already. And on this, we should work to make it really the hub of the exchange, of the cultural and of the social exchange between Italy and the United States of America.
Creativity is a very important concept. Is a very important concept to me. But I would almost double down on it and say that there is an element, of play and an element of wonder that are central to the fact that you become creative and you discover. It's almost this childlike approach to things where you're daring and where you explore. You try things because you're curious. And where things then become practical is when you apply your base, your scientific experience, and the experience of other people that you interact with to something that you've started exploring.
Now guys, under the mask is good.
I'm a big believer in connecting the dots. All of these types of culture, music, dance, painting, all of them, they all intersect and touch one another. You need one to have the other. I mean, if you take Leonardo da Vinci, for example, he wasn't just a painter. He did everything. He was probably one of the most creative sources Italy has ever produced. But any of the composers or the artists lived in the cultural world so that they not only appreciated their own mestiere, but they also appreciated other elements of culture.
We're a very creative band of brothers and sisters. We all like the idea that we create new things. As much was the case in the Renaissance. There was a great bridging of disciplines. There was no such thing as a builder or an architect that were separate. They were the same. In much the way that today there's a convergence of science, for example, biotechnology, and the pharmaceutical industry. Things converge. They're always better when they work together. And that's true not only of the sciences, but also of business and technology, a merging of civil society and business, a way in which we think of things as continuous, not separate, not siloed, in a way that literature and music has always brought us to the stage, for example. That's a clear merging of different disciplines, different ways of thinking, different skills, different talents, different abilities to project and to converse. I've always felt better when I had other people to talk to about an idea. There's no real point in talking to yourself. Study is important, book knowledge is important, research is important. But at some point, the idea needs a real world test. And that's always most accommodated and accomplished in a setting where you feel comfortable with people who want to have the conversation.
I think that people that are motivated to have impact share a common language, no matter what their discipline. They could be an engineer, they could be a physicist, chemist, they could be They could be a public official. They could be a bread maker. They could be a fireman. But I think that there is an importance in having an opportunity for people to come together. And you never know what's going to happen, because you never know who you're going to talk to and where the resonance is and how you resonate from a human perspective. That's the key. When these people come together and when they share a space, when they share a meal, when they share a drink, they end up talking the same language, no matter what discipline they come from. So you have these natural connections between an economist and a chemical engineer, or you have these natural connections between a chef and a material scientist, and the list goes on.
There's some degree of cross-fertilization of people and ideas, even across industries, can only be beneficial. At the end of the day, that's how great ideas are born. We have here what we call the iLab, where we allow people of all backgrounds to come together and just exchange ideas, because from those are born companies or ways of exploring that could not come from just one source. The Festival of Creativity, which Boston so successfully put together, will represent a spark for a future continued degree of collaboration and attention on the part of Italy to Boston, and of Boston to Italy, at least in the business and educational sectors. Boston is probably the most European city of America in some ways, at least physically, right, where we can find some of the elements that characterize some of the Italian cities there. And I'm struck by the fact that we don't have, unlike some other countries who seem to have, and I'm thinking of France in particular, have a place where people of all sorts can gather from that respect. I think it would be helpful to be able to recreate some of that. And the declination of these places can be wide. There's a bit of a range of definitions of what they should look like or what they could look like. The one thing that I think is clear is that finding places where there can be an idea exchange in a natural setting, one where one goes and finds oneself in the midst of people that are like-minded or that are willing to engage in conversation, it can only be beneficial.
There should be a broadly based Center for Italian Culture, and a Center of Italian Creativity, that would be not really just place-based, but broadly based, community-based, a thing wherein we can have ongoing conversations, where we can not only talk to each other and learn from each other, but see a way into a future which is not always so clear, particularly given the many diverse ways in which we can express ourselves. So that's the hope. We want to go to the next place.
I'm a very firm believer that the space, an aggregation space, is crucial to bring people together so that they can talk and they can converse and they can exchange ideas. And I think that ultimately all the things that we look for in terms of innovation and creativity and interdisciplinarity are all things that boil down to people, that are motivated to do something meaningful, and that are people that are motivated to have impact, and people that are generous, that are intellectually generous and are willing to share together and play together.
Culture is very important, and I think how we see it in the potential cultural center, perhaps even creativity center, that we envision for Boston, because Boston is lacking in this. It's a great potential, and we need one. We envision bringing forward more cultural events, literary events, art events, having a place to have a think tank for individuals who are artists, who are musicians, to come to the center and have a place where they can be, again, to use the word creative, to really tap into their creativity.
The question of what to do and how to get to the next step is always, of course, the most important one. I think here we have an opportunity, having come together in this festival, to do the next thing together. We've gotten to know each other a little better. That's obviously very important and a crucial first step. Now the question is, how can one best remember what we've learned and push forward? And I think it's there that we need to continue a long conversation with the good graces of the Consul General, who has brought us together in this conference, for example, as a good starting point. That's an important role that the Consul has always played, and we've been fortunate enough to have, in my tenure, 5 consuls who have encouraged us to do exactly this.
Let's take the energy and the ideas that the Festival of Italian Creativity has produced to move forward, to build new ideas and new initiatives, to strengthen the relationship between Italy and the United States of America, and also to strengthen the ties among our community.